So apparently, the review codes for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League are going to be going out next week when the servers are turned on. Now, you guys know reviews are mostly dead to me, if not 100% dead to me, after the way I pretty much had to do the cleanup for a lot of these so-called reviewers that did not do their jobs when it came to understanding the game they were reviewing. I saw Mr. Matty Play say, I went back to Gotham Knights after 9 months and basically complained about all of the systems in Gotham Knights on just the fact that most of them you had to do basically the work to unlock things. Imagine in an RPG where you actually have to unlock something. And so that was basically his big problem. I say many of these reviewers stay away from a lot of these video games. It will help most of us. If you haven't seen the videos where I called out pretty much like 4 reviewers on basically mischaracterizing Gotham Knights, I would just say take your time and maybe find those videos on my channel. I could link them for you if you wish, because this to me was the most shameful thing out there. Now, in the case of Suicide Squad, nonetheless, it is one thing where they already have brought a lot of people to preview the game. They had Destin of, from IGN do the preview. And many of you remember that he wasn't happy. Remember that, he did not like the proposition of Suicide Squad, even though he's been a Destiny player for a long time. He said, we don't like these kinds of games and whatever the heck it is. He thought, I just was laughing because I'm like, dude, Destiny could have easily just been an FPS game like Metro set in space, but you encouraged and you played and you continued to purchase items in that game, and it never was a problem for you. But then it comes to Warner Brothers wanting to make one live service shooter from their own IPs, having dropped a bunch of single player, bangers like Hogwarts Legacy, the Arkham games, working on the Wonder Woman game, and somehow it's a problem, which makes me laugh. But all this to say, I went to the Arda Games Reddit to look at what people are thinking about this whole conversation. And a lot of it is, people's feelings. Some of them are, how people perceive things are going. So apparently there's a post up here, very recent, by the way. This says Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League review codes will go out next week when the servers are turned on. As such, do not expect any reviews prior to launch. So this is actually from Arcade Onder, I think is the name. And they received confirmation of this because people have been talking about how the reviews are not there. It is a live service game. So sometimes publishers will do reviews. Sometimes they won't, or sometimes they just won't give the review codes out in many cases. Now, with Suicide Squad, I can see where Rocksteady is coming from. And as a Rocksteady fan, which basically they're my number 2 studio, and they went to number 2 because they gave me a copyright strike over Suicide Squad when I showed that image that was everywhere. Like, hey, look at this. And IGN showed the image too, but IGN didn't get a copyright strike. So screw that marketing team for doing that, whatever. But it is one of those things where when you kind of think about it, there hasn't necessarily been the best perception from the game. So the developers themselves had to basically partially lift an NDA for the alpha so that the people who played the alpha could talk about it. And that alpha was not necessarily the most exclusive thing anyways. Anybody could have invited anybody. And I saw a lot of people basically say, oh, you couldn't pay me to play the game. Or some people say, well, I don't want to sign an NDA. So some people purposefully refuse to just play it. But now people want to act like, oh, my pearls, there are no reviews out there. Bro, you could have easily gone on Twitter and said, hey, anybody got a Suicide Squad, pre-alpha code if you really wanted to try the game. So I don't think this is one of those cases of we don't really know what's going on. I mean, people have played the game, so we have ideas of what it is that we're going to be expecting from a fan base perspective. So let's continue to look at what is being said here. This person says, if there was ever a game, if there was ever to be a game where your best choice as a gamer was to wait for a review or sale of it, this would be it. Someone says, with how stacked this year is, I'm better off avoiding it altogether. Hey, great for you, man. That is your choice, and I respect it. Someone says, reviewers can be shown content that won't be actually in the game. That will actually be in the game. Microtransactions turned off. Rewards generally more generous for review copies and so on and so forth. Have to wait until release to get reviews. Remember the Gran Turismo game that PlayStation did, where they turned off their store and reviewers went ahead and reviewed it, and then they unleashed it, and it was like, yuck, this is the worst of microtransactions ever. You guys remember that? So let's not pretend like, this is just one thing that, this is just people just citing their own, I think, suspicions, which is fine. That's probably great that people are wanting to do that. So this person said something that is very interesting that I thought I needed to highlight a little bit of in this particular video. He says, I loved what Rocksteady did with the Batman games, but this game feels dead on arrival given the massive amount of hate it's been getting. you've just been dialed into maybe say one, I would say bubble. There are other bubbles out there. Not saying that, there's a big broad conversation that favors one way or the other, but everyone's got their little bubble. And there are people who are dialing into this game that are going to play it. They're not concerned about the, in quote, hate. This one says not everyone is reading Reddit, though. And so somebody's correcting them and saying, this game has a reasonable amount of marketing around it. In my city, there are billboards, bus adverts, and I think there's not many games out right now. I think it'll do well, but time will tell. Okay, interesting perspective. I can't say if it's going to do well or not. And this person says we all did, but this is like Insomniac Games following the rave reception over 2 Spider-Man games with a mobile clicker cash grab. Call it Clash of Spider-Man. Ladies and gentlemen, many of you already know what I'm about to do. So, apparently, Insomniac confirmed to us a while ago that they were working on a new AAA multiplayer game. If you actually look on Google, you're going to see that fans already did know this. And this was even before the leak happened and the hack that Insomniac suffered from back in the day. I think if you go to if you Google it and go to the videos category, you're going to see videos as far back as July 2023, where an Insomniac developer came out there was a video that was going on and they mentioned this in passing and they said they were working on another game and it was going to be a multiplayer game. After the leaks came out, we found out that it was going to be an X-Men game. And again, remember yesterday I made this post and I'm going to dedicate a separate video to it. I'm going to end this video here after I make this, set of statements. And that is, you're going to see the outright hypocrisy when Insomniac drops this X-Men game. And a lot of these people, their brains are going to forget that they hated live service games because you have to handle Sony, its IPs, and Marvel IPs with care. And then you have to basically make DC look like it's trash, even when Rocksteady is the ones making this game or are the ones making this Suicide Squad game. And even when Rocksteady has basically been able to answer questions, ensure that the game actually follows a fair monetization system that you can avoid after playing the game if you've informed yourself. But this kind of notion is going to continue to pervade itself in these forums all over the place. And I purposefully hid this part of the video because at the end of the day, when you think about it, a lot of people don't necessarily care to inform themselves about these things. They're really comfortable living and dwelling in the ignorance of what it is they believe, even though it is way inaccurate, even though it's basically a lie, but they'll still go ahead and do that anyways. So we'll talk about that in a separate video. And I want to point out how, and I want to make the video because I know we're going to come in here and at the end of the day, you're going to see all these people basically start saying, oh, the X-Men game looks good. Oh, the X-Men game does this. And they're going to ignore every single thing that they have morally condemned and say, oh, because it's this game and because Insomniac gave us these bangers, we think that, we're going to love this, their new take on the X-Men universe. Watch and see how that unfolds. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience. Peace out.